2 kilometers away from actually getting to my house, someone ran a stop street,
Oh,
hit and run, left me there,
wait. Hit then gone.
gone. Yeah, gone.
As in,
Gone,
as
yeah.
in hit and run, gone.
I saw him just going up the hill towards Hemingway's. I saw, yeah, never turned around. And it was 10 o'clock at night. Not many people, well, there was no one.
Of course, it's
We,
quite late.
we don't have cameras around like most cities.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's never been found.
Today, we have an amazing man. Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. You're most welcome. Photography is a very interesting, for me, a very interesting profession because there's a saying, a picture can say 1,000 words. So what is photography to you?
Yeah, you know, when I was in high school, I was interviewed by a guidance teacher, and she said to me, "Okay, it's your last year at school. What do you want to do when you leave?" And I go, "I have no idea."
Most of us
No
do.
idea. I was a surfer before my accident, so I said, you know, I'd like to do something with surfing, which wasn't a feasible career. So I enjoyed weather. So I said, you know, any chance I could be a climatologist?
Because when you say enjoying weather, I'm like, that's the first thing.
Yeah, because surfing is all about the weather.
Yeah.
And she said, no, you'd have to go to university and your marks are too bad for that. So, you know, so geography was my favorite subject.
Okay.
And then she said, what else? And I said, well, you know, I'm quite a creative person. What about photography? You know, when I go on our family trips, I'm always the guy with the camera. And she goes, yeah, maybe you could do that. So that was the only other option. And I just pursued that. I did apply to do photography, but once again, my marks were too bad. Yeah, so I didn't do that. And so I ended up working for my father for a while. I started studying electrical engineering. I hated it, absolutely hated it. And yeah, I got an opportunity with a local photographer, and yeah, he taught me from scratch. And
Nice.
I learned a lot through clubs and YouTube, and yeah, and I am where I am. I've been a professional photographer for nearly 28 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
28.
Yep.
Okay.
And I think if you enjoy anything enough, you can be successful at it.
True. But also, you touched on an accident.
Yeah, so the
really
photography.
want to jump into that.
Well, the photography is actually very much related because I had been on my own for about I think it was about 2 years, and I was photographing a wedding at Thomas River in 2009, and it was such a beautiful evening, such a lovely weather, so I decided to take my motorbike. I had a nice big BMW, and I took my motorbike to Thomas River and took the wedding. It ended quite early. The guys said, well, we have accommodation for you, and I said, oh, you know, I'd rather sleep in my own bed.
Yeah, understood.
The weather was beautiful. I said, no, I'm going to drive home. So I drove home. 2 kilometers away from actually getting to my house, someone ran a stop street,
Oh,
hit and run, left me there,
wait. Hit then gone.
gone. Yeah, gone.
As in,
Gone,
as
yeah.
in hit and run, gone.
I saw him just going up the hill towards Hemingway's. I saw, yeah, never turned around. And it was 10 o'clock at night. Not many people, well, there was no one.
Of course, it's
We,
quite late.
we don't have cameras around like most cities.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's never been found. But I'm going to say something quite strange, and I'm not just saying it for the sake of saying it, but my life has only improved since my accident. I know, it's weird. I mean, obviously, if you ask me, would you like your leg back, I'd say, of course.
Definitely.
But before my accident, I was going through a very bad patch. Business wasn't great, relationships weren't great, money wasn't great. So, I mean, I surfed before my accident, but I wasn't really good at surfing. I was just, yeah. And then something happened, something clicked. And I think you've got two choices when you have an accident. You can either get into a hole, feel sorry for yourself, and just think that the world's over, which I know a lot of people have been. But I was just on a mission, and it was surfing. It was surfing that did it for me most of all, because I actually wasn't interested in walking. I wasn't interested in working necessarily.
Okay.
I just wanted to surf.
Okay.
And I remember the surgeon came to me and he said, "I've got to take your leg." And I said, "No, you're not taking my leg." I said, "How can I surf without a leg?" And he says, "Well, you can do whatever you want to do." He didn't know that at the time.
So those words meant something to you.
They did, even though I think he didn't know any better. He didn't know anybody who could, or he just said, "You can do whatever you want to do." So I said, I fought him, and I just said, "No, you're not taking my leg." And he said, "Well, these are your choices. I can take it here, below the knee, now. We can take it there tomorrow, or we can take it there the next day," because gangrene had set in. It was rotting.
So it's just
yeah.
growing in.
He said, "We got to act quickly." So I didn't have much choice really. That was the choice I was, and I know a lot of people said, I must go for therapy afterwards, because it's a big deal, and it is a big deal. I'm not gonna make light of the situation, but I just said, I don't think I need it. And they said, no, everybody needs it, And I said, no, I don't think I do. I've got a mission. My mission was to surf. And I hated the whole pity. People coming to my hospital and saying,
I hear you.
and they go, "Oh, shame, life will change forever. You're not going to be happy. You're not going to surf again. Like, oh, shame, shame, shame." I couldn't take it.
Yeah.
So
just a quick one. Sorry
Yeah.
to cut you. So he hits you and he runs. And
Yeah.
what's now after so you're in hospital, you're recovering. Has there been a thing of, I would like to just see this person? Whether it's beat him up, no violence, no violence, but the turmoil, and was there anything inside towards him, even though you don't know? Forgiveness, if you want to call it that you had to work in yourself internally to be like, okay, this has happened, and this person did this, and whether they know what they've done to me or not, but is there resentment while you're busy recovering, while in hospital? Is there resentment, anger? And if there was, how would you deal with that?
I think the resentment and anger came from everyone around me. East London is a small community, and I had a lot of support, which was great. I remember raising money because when I had my accident, I had no medical aid.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's quite an expensive procedure. And they were saying, "No, we must find this guy, we must sue him, and we must get money." And yeah, I mean, money would have been great, but I had no animosity towards him. I mean, obviously I wasn't happy with what happened, and it would have been nice to find him so I could get some money from him, but like, what's going to happen if I find him? Like, it's not going to make my leg come back, So I had a lot of anger from everyone around me saying, "We must find him, we must get him." I mean, I even remember someone put a bullet in my hand and said, "This bullet's for this guy," and I'm going,
What?
Yeah, I'm saying, like, no, like, what difference does it make? I said, he has to live with himself. He's the one who drove away.
Yeah.
East London's small. He knows what happened. He's reading the papers. So I didn't have that sort of anger towards the person like everyone else did, and I just didn't enjoy the pity, as I said. And what happened was, I got on a plane. My parents lived in Greece, and I got on a plane on crutches, no leg, took all my camera gear and went to Greece, just to get away, just to get away. And that's where I say family is just so important, because if you've got someone.
What did that do? That trip to Greece, what did that do for your photography?
It was just a time to reflect, really. So what I was doing was, I was doing my research. First of all, I found out whether you could surf with a prosthetic. because I didn't know anyone in South Africa. There was no one in this country that I could speak to in my condition to say, can you surf with a prosthetic? So I didn't know whether you could or couldn't. So I found there was a company in America called AMP Surf, and what they do is they use surfing to rehabilitate people who have lost limbs, mainly war veterans, because there are many war veterans in America in that scenario, and they're using surfing to rehabilitate them. And I just realized the power of what surfing could do. I wanted to surf from a selfish point of view because I wanted to get back to where I was.
I see.
But I didn't realize that how much power the ocean can have on the rehabilitation. You know, here there's a company using surfing to rehabilitate these war veterans, and I mean, we could talk here for days about the process, but this company basically reached out to me and they just said, look, JP, if you can get to America, we will make you a leg for surfing. We will put you in a clinic where with these war veterans, you know, so you can see that there's other people like you, and then you could surf a competition as well, because they're having a competition for people with disabilities. So I think it was a no-brainer. I raised the money and got over there, and that sort of changed everything, because he had a bunch of students who had unlimited access to a veteran hospital, and they just said, like, money no object, just make him a leg, whatever he wants. And I remember rehabilitating a guy who'd come back from war and he had shrapnel in his head, and we took him out surfing and he would pass out every now and again. It was quite scary because, I mean, I was quite scared myself being out there in my condition. But seeing other people that are worse off than you, it sort of, I don't want to say it makes you feel better, but it does make you feel better. It gives you hope, because here's someone in a much worse condition than I am, and he's still willing to get out there, and he's still willing to push and whatever. So it makes you say, well, what are you complaining about?
Yeah, why am I wallowing? It's just sitting down.
So it was a real eye-opener, and I'm glad I went, because that sort of changed everything for me. And then I used my leg that they made, and I surfed the competition and I won, and I realized...
I see, because I'm looking at this.
Oh no, that was...
This is not... This is recent. This is 2024.
This is a few months ago. Yeah.
This is 2024, my goodness.
Yeah, so that's 10 years in the making. Every year since that scenario I was telling you about, I've been going to surf this event in America. This is the World Championships. This is not just a local competition. This is the whole world coming together to surf. And yeah, like I said, I've been trying since 2015 to win this event, and last year I won. So I can finally say I'm the best.
So you went, this is your first place?
First place, gold. Yeah, I can say finally that I'm number one.
Number one in the world.
Which leaves me in a very strange position, because I've spent the last 10 years striving for this. And now I've got it, and now I don't know what's next.
So winning this basically means you are now number one in the world.
Correct.
Right?
In my category.
In your category.
Yeah, there are a few categories. So my disability is below knee amputation.
Okay.
So you've got a few disabilities, because you know, there's someone who's lost an arm can't really surf against someone who's lost a leg, you've got paraplegic, you've got a blind division.
Okay.
Yeah, now these guys are...
They're also surfing?
Yeah, they're surfing.
Wow.
And I think that's probably the most incredible category that I can see. You know, there I am complaining about a bit of a sore leg and what have you, and I see these guys completely blind. Yeah. Yeah, they've got a helper there walking down to the beach, and when they're out there and surfing, the guy says, turn around, there's a wave coming, paddle, 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 stand up. That must be scary.
Yeah, but it also takes a lot of courage, which I want to bring into this. How much work did you have to put into this?
It's just...
Because you talked about that, this has been a 10-year journey for you, wanting to win this.
10 years, yeah. 10 years, and I've surfed it 8 times, because the 1 year they didn't have it, and the 1 year South Africa was banned.
Oh,
Just from the whole COVID thing, which I don't want to talk about because it's going to make me mad. 4 days before I was about to fly out, they said no South African is allowed
No way.
to travel. Yeah, so we had a full team, everything was prepared, and 4 days before we were supposed to fly out, they said South Africa's banned from travel. Yeah, so it was devastating. And
what's the intensity like when you're preparing for competition like this? What are the challenges that you're going through? What are the routines you also have to go through? Because this is one of those challenges you're talking about.
Yeah.
You guys have prepared for however many months, and just before you leave, they're saying no, you can't. But I want to know about the routines that you have to put yourself through, the preparation itself, but also the challenges that come with such a competition as this.
So I think, we spoke a little bit earlier about the money that's involved, and we don't get any funding, so we all got to raise our own money, and it's challenging, and it's a lot of money. It's not just a little bit of money. And then even while I'm over there, I'm neglecting my business, I'm neglecting my family, and it's really taxing. And so like I said, I've been doing this every year since 2015, and I've got 2 coppers, 1 bronze, 1 bronze 3rd place, and 1 2nd place, 1 silver medal. And so every year I think it's my year, but something happens and I don't quite get it, and finally I got it. So it's like a big relief, but at the same time I'm left a bit stranded now because I need a new goal.
Yeah, because that was going to be my next question is, now that it's here, what's next?
Well, I don't know if you know Peter van Kets. He's an inspirational speaker. He's a bit of a madman. He paddles. I think he paddled across the Atlantic by himself in a rowing boat.
Okay.
He does these crazy things, like he goes up Mount Everest, and then he uses his experiences, and then he was a motivational speaker. Excuse me. So anyway, I met him on the plane as I was flying out there, and he said, maybe you should consider public speaking. You've got some stories to tell, and you could be inspiring people. I just know that I'm not very good at talking. Public speaking is quite daunting, and But I think, whether I'm publicly talking or whether I'm just telling my story, I hope that I can inspire others, because not everyone gets it right. Some people don't want to, some people try and they just don't. For me, I feel like I didn't have a choice. That was my goal, and I wasn't going to stop until I did it. Before this goal, it was to win national events. I didn't start off winning. It was when I became South African champion, then I said, okay, that's it. Then I want to go to the next step, and I want to be a world champion. But that was a little bit harder because I think there's about 25 countries entering. About 100, I think last year there was about 150 athletes. You asked me about the training involved and how much and how difficult it is, and I feel like I'm cheating because the training is what I enjoy doing. So I don't go to the gym and pump weights and what have you. I surf, and I start my day with a surf, and it's because I want to. And I don't think it's. Look, it's been 10 years. It didn't just fall on my lap. So I'm not going to say it's been easy. It's been quite difficult, but the process of getting there is just something I want to do. And I feel like if you want to do it, you will do it. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you're disabled or not disabled. Like, if you want to do it, you will do it. And people say, oh, well, I try and try. Well, I tried. I tried for 10 years. I'm getting old, but I wasn't going to stop.
Yeah. So you had that mission that you were on.
Yeah.
And this is one of the results.
But I enjoyed it. So, if you're not enjoying it, don't do it.
Okay.
The goals are there for a reason. They're there to motivate yourself, and I think that's what everyone needs to pursue their dreams is just a goal that they want to do, not something that they have to do.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Well, JP, thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
Really enjoyed this conversation, and I'm hoping to hear more and to see more of you doing that public speaking.
Well, maybe you can help me there.
No, Lee's there.
Okay.
He'll sort you out, I'm sure. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah!
Big round of applause. Congratulations and thank you very much.
That was Jean Paul. Beautiful story, touching story, a very, very transforming story. From experiencing tragedy to having a family, from experiencing pain, not knowing who exactly he is and what he has to do in life, to discovering himself, to having a mission. And today, Jean Paul is a world champion surfing. And I hope that today you have been touched by his story. I hope that today you've learned and understand that you don't have to sit down and let life beat you up. From whatever you're going through and you've gone through, you can get up, change your life, get a proper support system, and be calm, an achiever, and an overcomer. I trust that I'll see you in the next episode. Have a great one.